Today on Little Wars TV, we bring you Turn 2 of the Pyrrhic campaign. This turn covers the year 279 BC, and we'll see Steve playing the role of King Pyrrhus take on a new Roman consul after the failure of Gaius Marcus Gregonius to stop the Greeks from capturing Syracuse. If you missed Turn 1, we encourage you to watch that first. It sets up for a truly epic Turn 2. One that will see the fortunes of war swing wildly and most unexpectedly. The second year of the Pyrrhic War is coming up next on Little Wars TV. Rome's next consul inherits the misfortunes of Turn 1, a year that was most unkind to Rome and Carthage. Steve's Greeks have a strong foothold in Sicily, while the Romans failed to gain a single city in Italy. Eager to defend Roman honor, two consular candidates step forward.
Friends, Romans, patrons, lend me your ear. I come with dire words for Pyrrhus, and not to appease him. The evil that Greeks do live long after them, and good only comes from the internment of their bones. Here under leave of Gregonius, for Gregonius is an honorable man, come I to speak in favor of aggression. Aggression has been Rome's friend, just and fair with us. Yet Gregonius says aggression is dangerous.
Silence! Are we children? Let the consul speak.
I speak not to disprove what gentle Gregonius hath said, but I am here to speak of what I do know. The world once feared Rome, and not without cause. I say attack the Greek interlopers. Attack and attack again. Pyrrhus, delinda, est!
A power has arisen in the east, even now stretching out its arm to strangle the Republic. I pledge to you that I will use all the power of Rome to meet this challenge. We will use guile where guile is needed. We will use fear where fear will suffice. We will use force wherever our enemy appears. We will seek his weakness. We will punish him for this adventure and dissuade all those who will come forth against Rome. I, Lucius Brutus Thomas, pledge this.
Our Patreon supporters, all members of the Roman Senate, cast their votes. And by a healthy margin of 59% to 41%, the consulship of Miles Gloriosus now begins. But can he bring Pyrrhus to battle?
Welcome to the theater of battle, Miles. Hopefully, at least for your people, you'll be more effective than Dregianus was.
Pretty hard not to be, my friend. I would like to play my diplomacy token.
Where are you going to attempt diplomacy?
I am going to attempt diplomacy, not there. I'm going to attempt it in this fine city here. It's a Samnite city. I'm going to attempt it right here.
Then you want to try and do what Dregianus did and go with Neapolis?
Neapolis seems like a fine city to start with.
He fails miserably.
Gregonius' ghost returns!
The ghost of Gregonius.
On to you, sir.
I shall march.
Come at me, bro.
The army that is currently in Syracuse will march upon the Carthaginian army in Gela.
Gela.
It succeeds.
Carthaginian army in Gela will retreat.
Very well.
Despite his pre-game bluster and big talk, Miles seems to be following the same cautious Roman approach from Turn 1. As Steve advances across the southern coast of Sicily, the smaller Carthaginian army retreats, first to Acragas, then to Lilybaum, and eventually all the way to Panormus. Along the way, Steve successfully storms Gela and marches his main army to the far western tip of the island.
So the first siege of Gela. 9!
Success!
Success! Gela is mine!
Finally, the Greek advance across Sicily is halted, at least for now. Back on the mainland, Miles secures Rome's first diplomatic prize, persuading the stubborn citizens of Neapolis to join the Roman cause. The city of Maleventum proves equally stubborn, but after 2 attempts, Roman legions smash their way into the city and take control by force. Siege operations in this campaign are resolved with a simple chart. You have to roll high to succeed, but there's a substantial bonus for each successive attempt. This is an easy, abstract way to represent the investment of time and energy armies can make to force a fortified city to yield. The key regional capitals, Rome, Capua, and Syracuse, can be defended in an actual tabletop siege instead of using the quicker resolution on the siege table. And don't worry, you'll get to see at least one major tabletop siege in this war. Just not quite yet. Right now, back in Sicily, Steve is hoping his investment in Lilybæum will pay off.
I am now going to attempt to do what Pyrrhus was unable to do and take Lilybæum through siege. No, not even close.
All right. I'm going to conduct another siege. Now I am +4.
Roll a 1, my favorite blog. 2. The ghost of Gregianus is strong, man.
He is very strong.
Okay. I will once again lay siege to Lilybæum.
Siege away, little man.
This time with an additional +2. Which is not enough.
Sons of Lilybæum will go down in history. I'm going to march forward.
You're going to try.
I'm going to try. But since I have friendly cities there, I get a whatever number.
Oh yeah, you're going to succeed.
But you've stolen my dice. I have no dice.
Well, where are you headed?
I'm heading here.
Okay. So you're heading down to Venusia,
Yep.
along an improved road with a friendly city nearby. You will go there, but that is as far as you will go.
All right, I will just stop right here. There we go. All right.
If at first you don't succeed, try twice and thrice again. Lilybæum will be mine. 2 + 4 is 6. No, it won't.
We'll move again.
Miles presses onward to Tarentum, Pyrrhus' main stronghold in the Italian boot. And with both Greek armies deployed in Sicily, the Roman advance is uncontested. Will Tarentum be able to hold out? Steve can offer no immediate assistance, and his only option is to continue his increasingly desperate, prolonged siege of the Carthaginian stronghold at Lilybæum.
Lilybæum will be mine.
They held out long and hard, though.
Not long and hard enough.
I'm going to let that lie.
Their efforts were not as long and hard as mine.
I'm uncomfortable.
You're the one wearing a bedsheet. You should be uncomfortable.
You got all the budget.
It's very satisfying to know I've done something that my real-life counterpart was unable to do.
With just 3 Roman actions left in the turn, Miles lays siege to Tarentum, but fails to storm the city. Time is running out for the Romans to seize the glorious victory Miles promised the Senate when he was elected to the consulship. If glory cannot be won in Italy, perhaps it can be earned on the island of Sicily.
I shall march to Panormus. I succeed. Will you stand and fight?
I will stand and fight.
Very well. Looks like we have a battle.
The Battle of Panormus, our first engagement of the campaign, pits an 800-point Carthaginian army against Pyrrhus' main field army of 1,100 points. Each side can roll on the reinforcement table to summon local allies, with bonuses given for controlling nearby cities. For this battle, each side rolls well enough to summon an additional 100 points of troops. Pyrrhus has a clear advantage in the battle ahead, but it's a narrower margin than expected. To resolve our tabletop engagement, we're using the club's Age of Hannibal rules. One of my favorite features of the system is the mechanism for setting up unique battlefields. Players begin by gridding off a 6x4 table. They're each dealt a hand of terrain cards and take turns placing cards onto the grids. All cards are placed face down so you don't know what your opponent is doing. It only takes about 5 minutes to go through this pre-battle setup procedure, but it's a great little game within the game, representing the opposing armies scouting out their ideal battlefield. Mixed in with the terrain cards are several ancient stratagems like ambushes, flank marches, or feigned flight. These are randomly shuffled into the deck, so you never know if you'll get the chance to use one or if your opponent might have a trick up his sleeve. After Miles and Steve place their cards, it's time to reveal the terrain and build the battlefield accordingly. In this case, you can see that the western edge of the table will be dominated by a large area of dense woods, a lake, and a swamp. The rest of the table is fairly open, with the exception of a patch of rough ground Miles strategically placed in the center, hoping to disrupt the Greek pike phalanx.
Today, pretty much everything is in my favor. I have a numerical advantage, I have a quality advantage, I'm smarter than Miles. But I have to understand the weaknesses in my army. I have a lot of elite pikemen, 8 full units, which is the key, and from the front, no one can withstand them. However, I see here that Miles has a fair number of cavalry on the board. Luckily, I do as well. I always bring along a lot of cavalry with my pike to protect those flanks. So basically, the plan is fairly simple. Move forward, grind forward, try and pin Miles in place, use my cavalry as well as light infantry, skirmishers, and spearmen to keep them from getting his cavalry from getting around me, and eventually I will grind him into the dust.
Steve wastes no time advancing across the open plain toward the Carthaginian line. The pike phalanx is a powerful formation, but does poorly in rough ground. Steve must now decide how to navigate the nasty patch of terrain that Miles placed for just this purpose. The Greeks choose to split their army into 2 wings, with the main body veering right and a smaller cavalry force swinging around the far side of the thicket. The question now is whether Miles will continue to sit on the defensive, or will he seize the opportunity to make a surprise advance with the Greek army divided.
The Greek host is approaching. They outnumber us, and they have their pikes like panzers. I think I've got one chance, and it's to slow them up by launching the cavalry on my left against his right and trying to break his flank. I think we can do it, but it's going to be an uphill battle.
Opting for aggression, the Carthaginians send their skirmishers and cavalry to engage both flanks of Pyrrhus' line. This sudden strike catches Steve by surprise, and over 3 ensuing turns, the Carthaginians slowly, steadily begin to seize the upper hand on both flanks.
He's going to shoot on him. Him on him. Him on him.
Okay.
Let's do this one first. 1 on him. 9.
He gets another one.
Did you roll another 10?
Yes. This one I'm a +2, you're a +3.
Yeah.
He rolls a 3 and I roll a 1. I can't win a damn thing. So he takes the turn again.
Steve's cavalry may not enjoy the favor of the dice gods today, but his ponderous pike phalanx has finally caught up to the front line. Unwilling to leave a large body of Carthaginian cavalry menacing his right flank, Steve breaks off a contingent of pikes to pin the horsemen in place.
Okay, so I got my spearmen who are a +3, but I'm an additional +1 because your cavalry, so it's a +4, and then they have support from the
+5.
pikes, so I'm a +5.
You got it.
Wiped them out. I'm gonna win this turn. Okay, so here
And +1 plus a -1.
you're a -1 and I'm a +1. Wiped him out. The tide is turning.
All right.
Miles lowers his morale clock for losing the turn. Both armies start at a value of 9, and the first army to reach 0 loses the battle. Pyrrhus' pikes may have delivered their first blow, but it's taken too long to land. By this time, in the action, the Greek cavalry on the left flank is routed, allowing Miles to shift his own light horse to harass the exposed pikes in the center. And atop the hill along the northern table edge, none of the Carthaginian infantry have yet engaged. These are fresh troops on solid defensive ground. Steve now faces a difficult choice. Should he press the attack with his pikes, knowing that one of his flanks is vulnerable to envelopment by light horse?
Coming into this campaign, my 6mm Macedonians had never lost a battle. Ever. To anyone. Today that streak ended. And it's hard not to blame the dice gods. First of all, Miles played very well in plinking away at me with his archers. But that big cavalry scrum was an absolute disaster. I think I maybe took out one of his units. He wiped out all of mine. At that point, I had to hope to close in with his line as quickly as possible, but he used his archers and ballista to hold me off, and I just couldn't do it. And by the time I chose to withdraw, it was simply because I felt my left flank was in danger of breaking, at which point he would have been able to surround my pikemen. They're a limited resource. I can't sacrifice them in a battle that's probably lost anyway. So I didn't like it, but I had to withdraw.
This is what makes campaigns so much fun to play as wargamers. In a one-off battle, I'm sure Steve would have pressed the issue and continued his attack. But we're still early in the long war with many battles yet to come, and in this campaign, the veteran Macedonian and Epirot pikemen are not replaceable. Steve knows these experienced, powerful pike units are the backbone of his army and decides not to risk a major loss. The Battle of Panormus is a minor Carthaginian victory, but it's one Miles is thrilled to take.
I don't know why, because no one can really parse the thoughts of the gods, but today they have favored you, Miles. So I will retreat to my Lilybaean fastness and exact my revenge at a later date.
Gods are just, and you are Greek. You are destined to lose.
If anything, the surprise victory of Panormus may have given the Carthaginians a bit too much confidence. Miles still holds a march and a siege action, and now decides to use those actions to make a lightning march to Syracuse, where he intends to make one attempt at a siege. But in this final gambit, Miles has miscalculated, badly. He does roll well enough to march the long march from Panormus to Syracuse. It's possible in the march table that an army could continue ahead to multiple cities if it rolls high enough. The problem for Carthage is that Pyrrhus also has a march action remaining, and he uses it to race back to Syracuse and trap Miles at the city. Pyrrhus has established a strong buffer of control around Syracuse. In the final moments of the game, Miles has no choice but to accept battle, pinned between both Greek armies, or surrender. He chooses an honorable surrender.
Our turn had mixed results. We had great glory on the battlefield, dispatching the Greek barbarian on the western shores of Sicily. We expanded our empire by adding 2 cities under our control, almost coming close to getting to Tarentum, 1 die roll away. Sadly, I overestimated the marching capabilities of the Greeks. I thought they would slow up and not catch me in Syracuse, and I thought I would have a chance to catch the city. I was wrong. I leave Rome in a stronger position than she was at the beginning of the term, and I am satisfied with my service.
Much like last campaign season, this turn I achieved my minimal goal, which was to take Gela and basically make it very difficult and costly for any consuls in future turns to recapture Syracuse. Unfortunately, I can't say that I'm completely satisfied with the turn because I lost a battle against Miles. That being said, I was pleasantly surprised by his decision to allow me to catch his Carthaginian army between my 2 armies at Syracuse at the very end of the turn. So, not an awful turn. Got done what I wanted to do, but it's hard to feel satisfied.
Our second year of the campaign may be over, but the real fight lies ahead. With Syracuse firmly in his control, Steve turns his attention back to the mainland of Italy. Historically, the real Pyrrhus did spend almost 2 years campaigning in Sicily, and with eerily similar results. He did take Syracuse and most of the island, but failed to eject Carthage completely. We asked an expert historian to weigh in on how the opening moves of our wargame stack up against the historical reality.
Hello, I'm Adrian Goldsworthy. I'm an ancient historian. I've been studying the Romans in particular, but the ancient world in general, all my adult life. Well, since I was very young, I've been a wargamer, beginning with the rolling marbles and shooting things at your plastic soldiers and knocking them over, to more complicated sets. I experienced the WRG regular C light heavy infantry stage and having to kill 20 men before you removed a figure and all that sort of thing. It's a great joy for me as a hobby, both because it reflects on some of my interests, and I suspect as an academic, my doctoral thesis probably asked questions that I wanted answered because I was a wargamer. I wanted to know how a Roman army actually fought in battle. He's an interesting man, and from a wargaming point of view, it gives you a chance to use Alexandrian era troops with some elephants as well, and fight the Romans, and all of those things you can't quite do with an Alexandrian Macedonian army. So he's popular that way. He's probably more popular amongst wargamers than he is in the wider history-interested population. And it's really interesting to think, well, what would have happened if Pyrrhus had gone to Sicily early? In a sense, what results is what really happened, in that he makes some gains, he does quite well, wins some victories, but again, this is an island full of well-fortified cities which you need to capture, and that takes time and is risky and bogs down. And even worse, it's an island situated not too far from Tunis, so the Carthaginians can reinforce. So Sicily might look tempting, it might look contained, and there's always that thought, well, it's an island, I can get all of that quickly. What can possibly go wrong? Whereas Italy, it's big. If I capture this bit, there's still a border with those damn pesky Romans. But again, it's nice that almost coincidentally, you almost get Pyrrhus's real experience replicated out of sequence, out of order, but this is what happened.
Next time on Little Wars TV, we return for turn 3, 278 BC. Who will be next to be elected consul of Rome? And what will happen when Pyrrhus lands in Italy?